Hello again, it's me, Timothy Humphrey. I was thinking today that it's been a while since I posted a video, and so I probably should. Um, and something happened today that I thought would be pretty good to record and share with others. So I am married, and probably like most couples, my wife and I, we have issues, we fight, and so nothing really different in that regard. But after one of our fights, I should say, we had a talk today, and I had some interesting revelations from the talk. Um, One of the things that I noticed that we have an issue with, my wife and I, is that we just clash. I have my opinion about something, and she has her opinion about something, and that's where the fights originate from. I say do this, she says do this, and we disagree, and blah. That kind of thing ends up happening. That kind of thing is happened, and I realized today when we were talking about things that part of the reason why it happens is just because we're different. And on one hand, it's kind of like, duh. Every person is different. Every person is unique. You've got billions of people on this planet, so you've got billions of opinions and perspectives. So honestly, nothing really new in that regard. But the thing I noticed, because of all the bickering and fights that we had, that what I was trying to do, and probably what she was trying to do, is I was trying to change her to be like me, and she's trying to change me to be like her. And as much as I may say that I'm enlightened or I've learned things, it's one thing to read something in a book. It's another matter entirely to actually put it in practice. And when you're in the heat of the moment, and I don't know, you had a bad day at work, you got a lot of issues happening, and you're just tired, and you're done working, and then you get a comment about need to do this or do that, and it's easy to get triggered. And you might even think in any other circumstance being asked to cut the grass was not a big deal, but in this particular moment, because of what happened, you just kind of lose it, and you end up into a fight. I realize, I'm trying to change her, and she's trying to change me. And in the talk that we had today, I realized that I could almost look at it as if she were like a color, where let's just say she's red and I'm blue. Just the way that different people operate is just different. So I guess I'll back up. So what I was noticing is that she's just a different person. And yeah, I said everybody's different. You got billions of people on the planet, but there are still like groups of people. So, you have large chunks of people who kind of operate in a similar manner. So my wife is more emotional. She can watch a movie and like she really gets into it. She can cry, and I can watch the same movie and I can be okay. She seems to just process things more from an emotional perspective, and I seem to process things from a more mental perspective. And I'm not saying that she's stupid. I'm not saying I'm a robot. It just seems to be the core way of processing things is just different. And I think everybody, you can even move past emotional and mental. There are just like other ways of functioning that I just think people just kind of fit into those areas. And I was kind of likening it today in my when we had a talk to like colors. So you can have, say, red, and you can have different shades of red. You can have bright red, you can have dark red, but it's still red. And so if you're in that spectrum of a red person, if let's say you're in a relationship with a red person, it wouldn't be so. It might be well received if you were to tell your partner, "Hey, you should do blah blah blah." And if you're operating from that same frequency, they may be very in touch with that to say that, oh, yeah, I think this person is right. Like my wife, she's a vet, and I was just kind of relating an example. Like if, a technician hears from her how she should behave, my wife being a vet, technicians, if you look at career perspective, vet's kind of like where you aspire to. I don't know. If you're a technician, you probably want to get to this level. So if a vet says do blah blah blah, the technician is like, okay, that'll help me advance towards their level. But if a vet tells a computer person like me, well, how to do something, it's just different. I'm going to hear it differently. And so I kind of moved from the job perspective kind of to the just color perspective to kind of generalize it. And I was just thinking, it does kind of seem like that, where, different people are just like, say they might be red, or let's say I might be blue, a computer person might be blue, or somebody else might be green. I don't know. But you just have this different ways of functioning. And what I just realized that a lot of our arguments stemmed from me, say as a blue person, trying to tell her as a red person how she should do something, as if I know better. I'm the blue person. This is how blue people operate. And I've come to the realization this is a good way of operating. Therefore, you should do that. And then her as a red person, she's like, what's going on? And, and she resists, and she can do the same thing. She tries to teach me how to be red, and I'm blue. And similarly, I resist that. And so it's just kind of, a bickering. And it's kind of funny that it's taken years of arguments to kind of come to this realization that, there's nothing wrong with who you are as, let's just say, a red person. And there's nothing right about who I am as, let's just say, a blue person. It's just different. And it was the funniest thing to realize that it's okay to be different. Not that I didn't realize that before, but again, knowing about that from reading some spiritual book, or knowing about that when you're just single is one thing versus being in a relationship, say a blue person with a red person. You really get triggered a lot. And, I just kind of came to the realization, yes, I am, whatever the color is, I'm just making it blue. I am a blue person. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing right about that. And she's a red person. It came from the realization that she really is just a more emotionally oriented person. I'm a more mentally oriented person. And I think even just having that realization was good, because it could help us understand each other, in the sense that if she were looking at my behavior, instead of judging my behavior from her lens, let's just say she's a red person, instead of looking at a blue behavior from a red lens, accept the fact that this blue person is operating from a blue perspective. And it's not going to be too helpful to judge that blue behavior from a red perspective, and just acknowledge he's just different. It's not wrong. It's not right. He's just different. And so rather than trying to say he's trying to hurt me, or, he's insulting me because he didn't do this thing, like, no, maybe it's just different. I don't want to speak for my wife, but I can just say for me personally, I think the conversation went really well. I mean, there were some painful truths that came up, but even, I shouldn't say painful. I'm going to say that they were deeper truths, because in one context, they can be painful. But I think when you're coming from a perspective where you just want to share and you're being open and honest about it, then it's almost like there's less resistance. And so a truth that cuts pretty deep doesn't feel quite so painful anymore, because you're not resisting it. But I can just say for me, it was a different facet to a truth that I already knew about. Just a deeper realization that yes, we are different. And just acknowledging that it really is a good thing. Like you have 7 colors, you got a lot of colors, but 7 primary colors in the spectrum, in the rainbow. And so you need them. You need red, you need blue, you need green, you need, all of them. And I was even thinking, let's just say I'm blue, you're red. Our relationship is kind of its own entity. And so we're going to get purple. If you take red and blue and you combine them together, you're going to get a different color. And I was kind of thinking that's actually, because I've read books about relationships, and it's almost like you take, a male and a female, or combine them together and you get a child. Their relationship can kind of be considered a child. It's a blend of both energies. And so it really is like taking 2 colors and mix them together and get a new color. But it was just an interesting observation. I really think it's helping us to just accept that, yes, my partner is different. And not even just he's different, but that I am the way I am. Like, we're learning about ourselves. I really realize that I am a mentally oriented person. Doesn't mean I don't have emotions. It's just I process them differently. I feel the emotions, I feel the feelings, but they kind of get viewed from a mental place, and she feels just from an emotional place, and it's just different from how I would do it. Again, nothing right or wrong in either approach. It's just different. So it was just good because I thought we can accept ourselves easier, because I'm not trying to judge her. I'm not trying to look at her behavior and say, why did she do it like that? It's just a realization. I don't know why she did it like that. I truly don't know how red people operate. I know how blue people operate. And maybe just ask her, and don't get so triggered. Don't even approach her. Am I asking as if she's wrong? Approach her from a more neutral place. I really don't know. So I'm just asking, what did you mean by that? Or, can you do this? And, just the way you approach something would be different, because I'm not coming from an attacking place or a judging place. It's just from an acknowledgement that this is a different person. And, maybe part of my journey is to learn more about red people. And so I, should just ask her. But the end outcome of the conversation was, I think it helped to bring us closer together, despite the argument that started everything. I actually think it brought us closer together. And I had some other interesting ideas that came out of that, in the sense of, underneath all the arguments that we may have, there sits love. I think it just getting in touch with that love, I'll just say, at least for me, is harder to do because there are other layers on top of it. So some event might happen, I get triggered, and so my attention moves from love to that event. If it doesn't get resolved, then, my attention can stay there, and then some other event can happen, and so my attention might move to this thing, and it can just keep going and going. And so before you know it, even though the love is sitting there at the core of our relationship, my attention is now several layers higher on these things that you've done. You did this, 2 years ago you did that, 4 months ago you did that. I have this bucket list of things you did. But in the conversation today, it was just, once you can talk about things and kind of clear the air, all those layers just kind of dissipate like clouds. And it just became so abundantly clear to me that, yes, I love you. I know there's a lot of stuff that happens, and stuff will continue to happen. You're blue, or I'm blue, you're red. And, I have to imagine stuff is going to happen. But it was just clear that, yes, love sits there. And so I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but at least I had that realization that love sat there. I decided to be with you, in the beginning, and X years later, that feeling is still there. There may be other layers on top of it, but that feeling is still there. And I kind of have to think, if I just kind of expand beyond just romantic relationships, to say any kind of relationship, friendships, business partnerships, whatever it may be. I was thinking, I really kind of think love sits at everything. There's just layers of stuff that happen. It's because when you're born as a child into the world, you really don't know much of anything about anything. You're exploring the world, and how do you know that black people are this way, or white people are that way, or people who work in this industry are that way, or even a person you may consider your enemy, you didn't know they were your enemy in the very beginning. Something at least had to like trigger you to get to that point, but your initial reaction was you didn't know this person, you didn't know this enemy, they were just a person. And so in the very beginning, there was at least no enmity. There was just a neutral perspective, and probably in the beginning I have to think there was this love. You wanted to know about this person because who knows what they're like. So I had the realization that this is me, but I kind of have to think love sits at the core of everything that we do. And there's just layers of stuff that gets on top of it. And we just put our attention on these other things instead of the core of how we operate. So there's that with the relationship and love that I just wanted to share. But two other interesting things came out of it because I used the color analogy so much in my talk with my wife. It got my thinking primed in other areas, and I was thinking about colors, because what is a color? It's a frequency range that our eyes perceive as something. From this frequency level to this frequency level is red, and from this one to this one is orange. And so when I was thinking about colors, I was just thinking we operate differently, and we are energy. Everything is energy. And so, energy is vibration, is movement, and the speed of that movement is your frequency. And so you can say everybody operates on a certain frequency. And I was thinking, this color analogy is probably not too far off. That, if you could perceive it, say, as the eyes perceive, energy is color, your ears hear energy as sound. But, so if you could perceive a person's energy as color, I was thinking, it's probably not too far off from the truth that people kind of could be considered colors. We're rays of light, and I'm blue, and she might really be red. My colors may be off. I'm just using an example, but the specific colors may be off. But I kind of get a sense that we really are rays of light, and whatever color I am, I think that really is true. There really is a frequency range that I operate within, and other people operate in their frequency range, and we're colors, we're rays of light. So there was that interesting thought that came to mind. And also sacred geometry, because when we were talking with each other, one of the things that came up is that, yes, we're different. And then for me as well, I operate in certain ways. I am prone to process things. Forget the whole mental, emotional thing, but just because of my patterning, my way of functioning in the world, my approach to things, I function in patterns, in the sense of, if I see an event, I'm probably very likely to interpret it in a certain way, and I'm probably very likely to behave in a certain way. Same thing for her. And I was just thinking, you can almost liken it to, say, me being a square. I know there's some, meanings behind being a square, but I'm just picking that that shape. Pick whatever you want. So, I'm a square. And so, if I'm at this point, I'm probably going to think along certain patterns. So I get like pattern functioning, and so it might look like a certain shape, like a square. And she could be a triangle, where her patterns are just different. And if me as a square looks at her as a triangle, I might think, well, if this event happens, therefore you do this. Whereas she might think this event happened, therefore you do this. And so, if I'm a square looking at a triangle, I could probably think, why are you doing that? It makes no sense. But again, I'm looking at it from the perspective of a square judging a triangle. And honestly, I really shouldn't be judging anything. It's just the fact there's just patterns of functioning, and hers just looks different than mine. And it kind of fits for me in terms of sacred geometry, where, again, I've come across information that everything is really built from geometric shapes. And Jess and I were talking, thinking about energy, frequency, colors, and then patterns of functioning. And it's kind of like shapes. You've probably heard of cymatics, where you can have a sound, you can have a speaker, and then you can put a plate on top of the speaker and then sprinkle sand on top of the plate, and you play a tone over the speaker, and then the sand arranges itself along the plate into geometric shapes. And so for me, when I'm thinking about that and energy and then patterns, why do I operate in a certain way? Why am I prone to processing things in a certain way? Why is she prone to processing things in a certain way? What does it mean to be red? Like, why does red look the way it does? Why does blue look the way it does? And I was just really thinking, maybe there is something to this sacred geometry. Whatever shape I am, it is just a true factual thing that is probably not too untrue, that there is a shape. It doesn't have to be like a simple square. It could be complex. But still, there's just a certain pattern that I have where I'm very prone to moving in the same way. And same probably for everybody. We have our own sacred geometrical, so not just shape, but combinations of shapes. So, every person's shape is going to be different. But it really kind of drove home that I think there is something to sacred geometry. And I just saw it in terms of patterns of behavior. I could be off. I don't know. But again, I just wanted to share insights that I had acquired today in the hopes that maybe it helps you. I don't know. So I just wanted to share that. So if you can, again, like, subscribe. It's cool, actually, to know that people like hear my ramblings. I may not make as many videos as I should. I'm getting better about it. Making a video is different than just putting pen to paper or, fingertips to keyboard and making a written post. You have to make sure your hair is all right, and you don't have any pizza stains on your shirt. But I'm getting used to it. So anyway, I hope you like this video. Hope you got something out of it, and I will see you again next time. Thank you.